The last time Mark looked into my eyes, he left me in a field to die. 3 years later, he walked into my shelter smiling for television cameras, certain his past had disappeared with me. He never imagined that the dog he abandoned would become the silent witness that unraveled everything. My name is Buster, and these are my animal POV diaries. I am a broad-shouldered dog with a scar running across my muzzle and memories that never completely faded. People often stop in front of my kennel and study my face before reading the notes attached to the gate. Some see the scar and assume I was born dangerous. Others notice how I tense whenever a man shouts across the building and decide something must be wrong with me. They don't know the truth. They don't know that every scar has a story, and some stories stay alive long after the wounds close. I wasn't always a shelter dog. Once, I lived in a small house with yellow curtains and creaking floors. That house belonged to Mark and Sarah. Mark liked telling people he was a good man. Sarah never said much at all. In the beginning, I thought the loud arguments were normal. Dogs don't understand human words the way humans do, but we understand tone, fear, and tension. We know when a room feels safe and when it feels dangerous. Every time Mark's voice rose, the air inside that house changed. Sarah's shoulders would tighten, her breathing would quicken. The scent of fear would spread through the rooms long before anything happened. Sarah was kind to me. She slipped pieces of her lunch under the table when nobody was looking. She scratched behind my ears and spoke softly even on difficult days. Whenever the house became quiet after another argument, she would sit beside me on the floor and rest her hand on my neck. I didn't understand everything she was carrying, but I known she was hurting. Looking back, I realize I was living a loyal dog story long before anyone else could see it. As the months passed, Mark's temper grew worse. Doors slammed harder. Arguments lasted longer. The house stopped feeling like a home and started feeling like a place where everyone waited for the next storm. Then came the night that changed everything. The tension began before sunset. Mark came home angry. Sarah tried to avoid him, but nothing she did seemed right. Every word she spoke made him louder. Every attempt to calm him only fed the fire. By the time they reached the kitchen, fear filled the room so heavily I could almost taste it. Mark cornered Sarah against the counter. I sprang between them without hesitation. Sarah flinched and closed her eyes. He lunged towards Sarah with raised hands. I reacted the only way I knew how. I grabbed his shirt and pulled hard. The fabric ripped down the front. My paw scraped his forearm during the struggle. The scratch was small, barely more than a red line. But when Mark looked down at it, something changed in his expression. The anger disappeared. A cold calculation replaced it. Sarah immediately tried to explain what happened. She told him I was protecting her. She told him I wasn't attacking him. None of it mattered. Mark had found a way to make himself look like the victim. The next day he called neighbors. He called professionals. He told anyone willing to listen that I had suddenly become aggressive. He described me as unpredictable, dangerous, and unsafe. Every version of the story made him sound more innocent and made me sound more threatening. Sarah argued with him repeatedly, but her voice carried less weight than his. By morning, my future had already been decided. Mark loaded me into his truck. The truck rolled deep into the countryside. At first, I thought we were going somewhere familiar. Then the houses disappeared. The roads narrowed. Trees replaced neighborhoods. Hours later, we reached an enormous field covered in tall golden grass. Mark opened the door. He unclipped my leash. For a moment, I expected him to throw a ball or call me back. Instead, he pointed toward the distance. Go. That single word ended my old life. He drove away and vanished beyond the hills. The sound of the engine faded until only silence remained. I waited. Then I waited longer. The sun crossed the sky. Night arrived. Still no truck returned. The field felt endless. Wind pushed waves through the grass, while unfamiliar smells drifted around me. I searched for roads. I searched for houses. Mostly I searched for a reason. The hardest part wasn't hunger. It wasn't thirst. It was confusion. One day I had been protecting someone I loved. The next day I was alone in a place where nobody knew my name. That was when my life became an animal abandoned story. For 3 days I survived in that field. I wandered through the grass searching for home. I drank muddy water from shallow puddles. I slept beneath open skies. Every distant engine made my heart race because I hoped it might be Sarah coming for me. She never came. Years later, I learned she never knew where Mark had taken me. On the third day, a woman spotted me near a fence line. She didn't rush toward me. She didn't treat me like a monster. She sat quietly on the ground and offered a piece of dried meat. Something about her patience felt safe. Eventually, I approached. That decision saved my life. She brought me to the shelter where I still live today. The intake paperwork painted an ugly picture. It labeled me aggressive, high risk, potentially dangerous. Some shelters might have accepted those labels without question. This one didn't. The staff watched me carefully. They noticed I never started fights. They noticed I comforted frightened dogs. They noticed that nervous puppies often settled down when placed near my kennel. One volunteer in particular changed everything. Her name was Elena. She spent hours working with me. She learned my triggers. She learned my fears. Most importantly, she learned the difference between aggression and trauma. One afternoon, I overheard her speaking with another volunteer. "He's not dangerous," she said. "He's carrying something he never deserved." Nobody had ever defended me like that before. Over time, Elena helped me become a therapy dog for new rescues arriving at the shelter. Whenever frightened animals came through the doors, I greeted them calmly. I showed them that safety still existed. Life became peaceful. Not perfect, just peaceful. Yet one memory never left me. I still remembered Mark. I remembered his scent. I remembered the kitchen. I remembered the field. And somewhere deep inside, I always wondered what would happen if our paths crossed again. 3 years passed before I got my answer. One morning, the shelter buzzed with unusual excitement. Workers cleaned every corner of the property. Cameras arrived. Reporters arrived. Volunteers discussed an upcoming visit from a local political candidate. Apparently, he wanted photographs with rescued animals. The event was supposed to generate positive publicity. Then I saw the campaign posters. My top stomach tightened immediately. The smiling face printed across every banner belonged to Mark. The same man who abandoned me now wanted voters to see him as a champion for the vulnerable. The day of the visit arrived. Cars filled the parking lot. Cameras pointed toward the courtyard. People applauded as Mark entered through the gates wearing an expensive suit and a polished smile. Time seemed to fold in on itself. 3 years disappeared. Suddenly I was back in that kitchen, back in that field, back in the worst moments of my life. The shelter director eventually guided him toward my area. "And this is Buster," she said proudly. "One of our biggest success stories." Mark glanced at me casually. Then recognition flickered across his face. Our eyes locked. I could have barked. I could have growled. Instead, fear took over. I backed into the corner and trembled violently. Every camera captured it. Every reporter noticed. The courtyard grew quiet. A journalist frowned and lowered her microphone. "Why does he seem terrified of you?" she asked. The question landed harder than any accusation. Mark laughed nervously. He blamed stress. He blamed the crowd. He blamed the cameras. Nobody looked convinced. Alina stepped closer. Her eyes moved from me to Mark's forearm. A faint scar remained visible beneath his sleeve. I watched the realization spread across her face. Then she spoke. "Wait," she said. "Wasn't the dog in your old report named Buster?" Silence swept across the courtyard. Alina pointed directly at the scar on his arm. Mark's confidence cracked. Reporters immediately sensed a story far bigger than a campaign photo opportunity. Questions came rapidly. When did the incident happen? Where was the dog surrendered? Why had the shelter records described only a torn shirt and minor scratch? Why had the dog reacted like a terrified victim instead of a dangerous attacker? The shelter director retrieved archived files. The intake photographs matched. The dates matched. The locations matched. Everything connected. Then another piece surfaced. Sarah had recently filed reports documenting domestic disturbances before ending her relationship with Mark. Suddenly, the story looked very different. The heroic candidate no longer appeared heroic. He looked like a man desperately trying to outrun his own history. Within days, the investigation spread across local news stations. Reporters uncovered records linking every piece together. People began asking difficult questions. If Mark had lied about a loyal dog, what else had he lied about? If he abandoned an animal to protect his reputation, what did that reveal about his character? The answers weren't favorable. His campaign unraveled quickly. Donors distanced themselves, supporters withdrew, public trust disappeared. Watching it happen felt strange. I wasn't celebrating. I wasn't seeking revenge. I simply felt lighter. For years I carried the burden of being labeled dangerous when I had only tried to protect someone. Now the truth stood where lies once stood. That feeling was animal justice in its simplest form. Not punishment, not revenge, truth. The headlines eventually faded, but the impact remained. People stopped seeing me as a problem to solve. They saw me as a survivor. More visitors came to meet me. Families asked about my story. Volunteers shared my journey with newly rescued animals who needed hope. Then one afternoon, something happened that mattered more than every headline combined. Sarah came to visit. The moment she stepped through the gate, I recognized her scent. Lavender, warmth, home, her eyes filled with tears. Mine probably would have too if dogs could cry the same way humans do. I rushed across the yard and reached Sarah. She knelt and wrapped her arms around me. For a long moment, neither of us wanted to let go. The fear that had followed both of us for years seemed smaller somehow. Not erased, just smaller, manageable. Human beings often think justice only exists inside courtrooms. Sometimes it does, but sometimes justice arrives when a hidden truth finally reaches the light. Sometimes it arrives when the one who was dismissed, ignored, or abandoned is finally heard. I still live at the shelter. I still help nervous rescues find their footing. And every morning, when sunlight spills across the yard, I'm reminded that survival itself can be a victory. Mark thought he buried his past in a field of golden grass. He forgot that memory survives. He forgot that truth survives. Most of all, he forgot that even a silent witness can eventually be heard. I am Buster, and this is proof that karma doesn't always arrive with noise. Sometimes it arrives quietly, waits patiently, and reveals itself at exactly the right moment. If a loyal dog, who was willing to take a bullet to protect a human, was betrayed for their acts of loyalty, who is the real monster? I survived his worst nightmare, and now I am asking you directly, does a person who leaves a silent witness to die in a field deserve to face the consequences of their action?
Now that you have listened to this precious animals, let's hear your own voice in the comments. I see every one of them, and if this story stayed with you, please hit that subscribe button and share the hidden emotional lives of these lovely creatures. There is another soul waiting to share their story with you right now. Click the next video here to step into their world.